He says in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 14 through 15, it says, therefore I want young widows to get married, bear children. In chapter 5, he's really talking about widows and how to deal with that in the church and things like that. And so he says, for young widows, I want you to get married, bear children, keep the house, and give the enemy no occasion for reproach. So just as many letters have spiritual application, he's telling Timothy, hey, these are some of these things that we're called to do, we're called to be. And so here is Timothy saying, hey, and don't allow, for some have turned aside to follow Satan, have followed the enemy. And that reminds us that it's not something that's just a path that just foreordained by God at one point, but know that he has many plans to prosper us. He has plans to give us a hope and a future, plans to provide for us. And so some have turned away. He was telling them, hey, some have turned away to follow Satan, but you are to follow after God. You are to follow after the way of the Lord. I solemnly charge you in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus and of his chosen angels to maintain these principles without bias, doing nothing in a spirit of partiality. So a God who makes plans and forces people to choose only one choice and has ordained, some would even say Judas was preordained to deny Jesus Christ. But Jesus Christ knew what was going to take place. He knew what was going to happen. But Judas still had a chance to choose. Am I going to betray my friend, my brother that I've been with for 3 years, who's provided meals for me, provided to be hanging around me? Or am I going to betray him? Betray my brother, betray him, just like Joseph did. Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery. But for Judas, some would say, well, Judas, he had no choice because God needed Judas. God needed him to betray Jesus. Is that how salvation works? Is it? Oh, I worship. Let me go down to, oh, Judas. Let me, do I bow down to Judas? Do I say, man, thank the Lord for Judas? No, I say, man, Judas is a joke. I don't like Judas. Judas is not cool. I mean, if I see him in heaven, I'll be glad. I look at Judas and I say, man, I cannot believe he did that. Jesus didn't need Peter to cut off the ear of one of the swordsmen who was going to bring Jesus into the courts to have that court ruling and everything like that. It's not like God I need Peter to cut the ear off. No, that happened because of sin, because people do things here and there that are wrong. We do things, I do things that are they're wrong here and there. But Jesus, he did not need Peter, he did not need Paul. It was a message of hope. And he does it by God's grace. He does it because he loves us. It's because they did not follow after the ways of Satan. It's like Paul was saying, hey, these have fallen away to Satan, but you're a follower of Jesus.